Mike, we're good? Hey everyone, welcome to the Benvie podcast. This is Matt Benvie and Success Stories Unveiled. I'm here with Brian. What's up, Brian?
Living the dream, man.
Getting out of work early, right?
Exactly, on a Friday afternoon.
We won't tell anybody where you work. Well, Brian, we met virtually first through COVID, and do you remember roughly the date of that?
It was like March, April last year was when you guys were doing the money goes to the local businesses stuff. Yeah.
So I would think it was March or April of the original COVID, the OG COVID, over a year ago. Let's just get this out of the way first, but you have a lower body fat percentage than I do now. What was your body fat percentage when you first started?
I actually didn't measure anything until October time. Right. I was kind of kicking myself because now I don't actually know where things started at. Yeah. So I had those first few months I don't have any numbers for.
Yeah. So what was the change since you started measuring things?
So since starting measuring, I'm down over 30 pounds, probably 16% body fat kind of
Crazy.
thing. So I know it's even more than that from when I started. For sure.
Wow. Yeah. And how old are you?
I am 39.
You're 39.
Yeah.
And how long have you been married?
This is year 11.
Okay. Yeah. And the kids are how old?
7 and almost 3.
7 and almost 3. So you're a busy man.
Yeah.
You have pets too, right?
Just a cat now.
Just a cat.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so let's talk about growing up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up just north of Toronto, in a town called Aurora. That's where I grew up. And
was it an athletic childhood, a childhood full of activity? How would you describe your health back then?
Activity-wise, I never did competitive level sports. I was telling someone the story the other day. I think the only time I did something competitive was I got to be on the school track team in elementary school because I finished 5th in the 200 meters at my school.
Yeah.
But the top 4 people all went for other events. So I got to go for 2 days of track to get demolished by all the people that were much faster than me. So I played rec, hockey, baseball, that kind of stuff. Nothing really competitive. Yeah.
And then you went to university and grad school, I think, and all that stuff. So through that, was that a healthy time in your life?
I did intramurals, dabbled in kind of working out off and on, in university, going to the gym was included as part of stuff. So sometimes you'd go, sometimes you wouldn't. Never really enjoyed it. Found those kind of places intimidating, seeing all the super strong buff people walking around, all that kind of stuff. So be we're going south with a bunch of friends. I should go in the gym for 2 months before and try to see if I can get all carved up for the beach or something like that.
Yeah. I hear
That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, that was my early 20s for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you went to grad school and probably met Sarah somewhere in there and had kids. So talk about what life was like because you're a professional guy, young kids, before you started, after university, getting married, having kids until you started to evolve. What were some things that you've been up to since then?
So we moved from Ontario to Nova Scotia about that 12 years ago, something like that. When we first moved here, I was working, the jobs I got were in the Valley and South Shore. Living in Halifax, I used to spend over an hour each way driving to work. Working full time, so lots of time sitting in the car. Even my jobs involve driving from place to place to see the clients I was working with.
Okay.
So lots of time sitting, lots of time not doing stuff. And then by the end of the day, you're just so tired. So it was a lot of driving, sitting, come home, watch TV. Used to do ultimate frisbee. That was kind of the activity. Ref hockey, so I would do that a little bit, and that was kind of what I considered my physical activity.
Yeah. And then, you're down over 30 pounds. So immediately previous, was what led to the weight gain? Would you say?
Probably just the inactivity, not having the greatest eating habits, in terms of how much I was eating, kind of when I was eating, the choices I was making, all those kinds of pieces. Yeah, I think those are kind of the main contributing things.
Yeah. And then you had the opportunity to join us. What was was there an internal struggle, or like what was usually people are like, okay, today is the day and this is what I'm doing and this is why.
I think like I was talking to other people about this too, when the pandemic hit, I think a lot of the what I now know are like the excuses were gone. So a lot of the other things that I used to spend time doing, like say going to ref hockey, the other activities and stuff, like doing like recreation curling as an activity, all those things weren't happening. So there's no kind of reason to not try something out. And the other thing too, I was always like, I remember like reaching out to other places, being like super scared off by like, oh, well, yeah, come in, do this, like sign up for this, like sign up for like a year contract kind of thing. So I remember seeing like, it was just that like that promo just being like, I can't remember what the length was, but it was something like, just try this out for this period of time, donate kind of what you think. You were giving it to the small businesses at that time. I remember that. And I was like, well, there's kind of like no reason not to kind of try this thing out.
Yeah.
Right. So it was I think the bar got lowered enough for me to be able to step over that bar and kind of start on that journey, I think.
Yeah, and that is our goal. I mean, we don't do contracts for that reason. We want people that want to be here all of the time and lower the bar enough so that we can help overcome their fears to give it a shot. So did you start having success right away?
Well, I remember like starting off, there's all like the initial kind of body stuff, like, oh geez, like my body's not used to moving like this. I remember being super self-conscious about like doing recordings. I remember not having the foggiest clue. Like I remember going on one and being like, what the heck is this warm-up thing?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what these things are. So those kinds of pieces, it seems hilarious to me now. Now somebody like changes up the warm-up. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? No, it's like the exact same thing. So yeah, I just remember kind of those pieces and just being sore from working out, but obviously like I'm still doing it. So those pieces didn't kind of scare me off or turn me away from it.
Yeah. And what changes did you make other than just jumping into the workouts?
So that was kind of that's where things kind of started, was doing the workouts, trying out the different ones too, because that was cool. There was like I remember doing some of the boot camps, there was the cardio ones, like trying out some of the yoga ones at different points. So it was cool just to try to like test stuff out, see kind of like which people I liked, like those kind of work. Not realizing, it took me a while to realize that like on a certain day the workouts were the same.
Right.
Around that, so it'd be like, oh yeah, this is a good one, I should do that. And it wasn't until later on that I kind of got into all the other aspects of stuff. I kind of started with the workout pieces, but I think that was kind of the main one, was kind of figuring out the workouts I like to do, the schedule I like to do them on, the time of day that worked the best, and kind of got that like habit going, I guess.
Yeah. So the nutrition stuff came after?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Didn't know that yet.
That was probably that challenge. So that was the October challenge that I joined. That's where I started measuring stuff and doing the pictures and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I was looking at the pictures on my phone. I was looking at them the other day when I knew I was coming in to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
To see, because you forget kind of where things were, right?
That's the thing. It's like, I mean, you're looking in the mirror now and it's completely different than what it was. So, yeah, I mean, you're a very consistent exerciser, which is great. What were the initial nutrition changes that happened, or other lifestyle things like sleep, stress related stuff like that?
Yeah, so I think that like that challenge kind of forced me to look at all the different stuff. So like one of the main things for me was drinking more water. So like I even grabbed my water when I was coming in here today. Nice. So I was like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
So doing that piece was a big one. The other thing was just kind of really paying attention to kind of what I was eating and when I was eating things, and making changes in terms of like things like you talk about around like, oh, well, maybe instead of having a whole granola bar for snack, I'll have half a granola bar and a banana. And that's still what I have now, right?
Nice.
Like, those kinds of pieces without being like, I could never have this thing.
Yeah.
Around that piece. So those are kind of the main ones. And then the sleep piece, like I figured out early on, and again with the pandemic stuff, because there was one of the things that kind of got in the way during normal times, and that I'm aware of will come this fall too, is the evening activities. So being back into like things that happen in the evenings, but also knowing that I've gotten into the cycle of going to bed earlier so that I can get up, because I like doing the workouts first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like the sleep piece. It wasn't really like a number, but just kind of making that deliberate shift over like when I want to go to sleep and when I want to wake up.
Yeah.
And when I want to do stuff. Yeah.
I want to circle back for a second. Is that granola bar and banana example from my 2 cookies and then having 1 cookie and strawberry? Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thanks for listening. Any other like big changes that you made that led to the results? I mean, you're consistent with the exercise. You've clearly made good nutrition choices. Anything else that was kind of the key to success, would you say?
Well, I think there's like coming to the workouts, but then also trying to be active. So even like, I know you had a post about this the other day around like number of steps. Like it's so funny, but I got like the Garmin watch for Christmas, and it just set, like I just set the target as 10,000 steps a day. Yeah. And since Christmas, there's been 1 day that I didn't make it, and it was the first day I did like a super long bike ride.
Right.
But there was just this like internal thing in my head about but I've got like 10,000 steps on every day. I have to get there again. Like it feels disappointing to not get there, right? Yeah. Like it's all that like behavioral psychology stuff. Like, so just.
That is your field.
Yeah. So trying to do like like making sure I do my workouts when I want to do them, walking, like just finding I'm more active than I was before. Like it's just kind of become part of what we want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So what obstacles have you faced along the way?
I think so. One, like COVID kind of removed some of the things that were obstacles before, like in terms of finding the time, right? Like looking at, like one of the ways that we do things at work is kind of looking at like our weeks and how we're going to use our time and plan for where our time goes, and kind of using that same idea for my life in terms of like how much of my time is going to go to this thing versus that thing. So having some of those other pieces removed was one of the obstacles, and I know it's one that's coming as we come out of COVID back into normal life. Is like, what do I want to be doing? What choices do I want to be making? Okay, if I want to keep going to workouts in the morning, what does that mean in terms of what activities I want to do in the evening and when they are? Like, I don't want to go do something that's going to keep me up till midnight. Yeah. Because I would prioritize these pieces. So, like, I know there's those kinds of pieces. The other thing, too, is, like, getting with, like, meal stuff, it's been easier with working from home a lot. So it's been easier to do things like having more salads and stuff for lunch because the stuff is all in the fridge. So I know going back into the office and having to be planful about kind of what I'm bringing and that kind of stuff. There's been jokes like in the house in terms of like how much I love salad, and like we got back from vacation and I was like, okay, and I need to get back into like fruits and veggies and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. Like, so it's just one of the pieces, just kind of making it fit. Like it's not just one individual, right? So it's like part of a family, and just kind of making sure that we're making our choices all together.
Yeah, and that just moves into my next point. So you've got a wife and 2 kids, and usually I'm sitting on this side talking to a woman who has either a supportive husband or not. So how has that worked well for you? And I know your wife, and she's very active, which is great, but you also probably have to take some time at home to parent while she's running and things like that, right? So how's the family dynamic been for fitting it all in for both of you?
So that was kind of the main reason that I found like the 6 a.m. workout time just worked the best for me, because I know that I can get up, get the workout in, and be done kind of before the kids were waking up. It was great when I was at home doing the virtual stuff, like that worked great. And then being able to fit that into still coming to the gym has worked out well. Like it takes like Sarah and I sitting down and mapping out like what I'm going to do. My workouts are all in the morning, so that doesn't tend to get in the way because she hates running in the morning. Yeah. And then she does stuff after and try to line up all the different things and who's going to do what. But it's nice to have all the different options of when things can be done.
Yeah. So it's possible to have young kids and to have a marriage and still be successful with your health goals?
Yeah, like we don't we don't do a lot of the workouts together because I prefer to do them in the morning. She does them later on. It was funny sometimes when we were doing the virtual one, like I'd do the one in the morning and then watch the one later on. It'd be like a game of broken telephone about, oh, you're doing that different. I had to do this in the morning.
Right.
Those kinds of pieces. But we're able to kind of make those pieces work. Like we don't do a lot of other, like, we're not going out for dinners all the time. We're not like doing a bunch of stuff downtown, social, all those kinds of things, right? Yeah. So it's one of the things that we can kind of make time for, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about non-scale victories. So yeah, you want to lose weight, and that's great. But like, what are the victories that don't have to do with the scale that are successful for you?
So I'll tell you the funniest one that came up. I was just chatting with the physio last week, and I was like, I don't know if this is like a thing that I'm going to now do like professionally. We were joking about it. But when we were on vacation, my daughter, who's 7, was like swinging on the monkey bars. And then, so I was like, I'm going to try this. And like, I could actually swing on the monkey bars. I can't remember a time in my life that I could like swing on monkey bars. Now, never in my life has that been like a goal or a thing like I wanted to do. That's why the physio was like, maybe you should join the circus. It's been a thing you never knew about. But like, it was just one of those things where I was like, oh wow, like I can never, even when I was younger, I can never remember being strong enough to swing on the monkey bars. And I'm never sure how that's going to impact my life, like normally, but just that kind of thing where like, oh yeah, I can do this kind of piece. But like one of the other kind of biggest non-scale victory that has like a cost associated is I've had to buy like entire new wardrobes for every single thing. Yeah. So every time a season comes, like I have to, I'm like, oh yeah, right, now I need new summer clothes, or now I need new winter clothes. Or like when curling started back up and I put back on my gear, I was like, oh my God, this stuff is huge. Like it doesn't come anywhere close to fitting. So that was like asking for new stuff for Christmas, right?
Yeah.
And stuff just like fits better. Like I've never been a person that would felt comfortable wearing slim fit clothes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And just like, so being able to do some of those pieces, like, and I think the other kind of biggest piece for me is like wanting to do stuff. Like, it's like the idea of, like the principle of inertia. Like when you're stationary, you want to stay stationary.
Yeah.
When you're moving and active, you want to stay moving and active. So that's what I find, like if we're not doing stuff, I'm like, I feel like I haven't done anything. Like what can we do? And like, it's like, oh, I'll go for a lunchtime walk. And my daughter wants to like ride her bike with me while we're walking around the neighborhood kind of thing, right? Like getting out. Like it just feels like even if I'm sitting at home working on the computer all day, like I feel like I need that movement.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to hear that. So I'm gonna keep this specific to gender. I don't want to gender stereotype, but I think a lot of men feel, they have a harder time joining a boot camp or a group fitness program. What would you say to a man or a woman or anyone out there who's hesitating to join a gym or is nervous to join a gym? They think it might not be for them.
Yeah, I think for me, the stepping into the gym helped make it easier. So doing the virtual stuff first and doing the virtual stuff off camera so that like I didn't need to worry about what I kind of look like, looking like I was feeling silly, all that kind of stuff. But then I actually found when I started to come to the gym in person, then all of a sudden I could get feedback on like the form and how I wasn't doing things the way that I needed to be doing them, or how to kind of step up or get that encouragement to like try this to make it harder or do this a little bit more. So like that was helpful. The other piece too is I've never kind of been someone that's like, I don't know, kind of that stereotype that you were saying is like the big macho bodybuilder guys at the gym doing like single muscle exercise. Like that's not really what I was in it for. I kind of like the idea of like functional strength.
Yeah.
Right? Like being able to do the stuff that I need to do during my day and not getting kind of tired out from it. Right? So I think that's where boot camp stuff has fit well for me, because it's a lot of more like complex whole body exercise kind of stuff. Right? And I like that piece. So.
Yeah, and you can attest to a man being able to get in great shape coming to boot camp. Yeah,
and well, and the other piece too is that it's like sometimes like I know I go to a lot of the boot camps with Mitch just because of the timing for stuff, right? And he's I remember him making a joke one time, like the room was almost all guys.
Yeah.
And he's like, this isn't what it's normally like. Yeah. Like it's just there seems to be a lot more guys coming to, and like super athletic, like guys that look like they come from like past like high athletic background.
Yeah.
Stuff.
And that is the great thing about group fitness. And you know, I like I said, we'll promote all gyms on this show. We own Evolve Fitness, and we strength train more than most gyms, I would say, and as part of a boot camp, and that is a big draw, and people seem to enjoy it, and results speak for themselves. Any like major tips for, you know, there's going to be people listening to this that are just beginning their journey, some people in the middle, some people that are kind of where you're at right now, that you've taken it to the next level. Any major tips for people listening at home?
So for me, kind of the main things were being able to find a way to get started. That was kind of the biggest one. Like being able to take the risk, I guess, in some ways, to try things, knowing that there wasn't kind of a big commitment to stuff, because that was one of the big worries before, right, about joining a big gym and like, oh, geez, now I'm never gonna see my money again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Also, and I was thinking about that and laughing that, like, I went from, like, I don't want to commit, I'll just join this little challenge, to, like, sure, I'll prepay my next, like, year and a half so that you'll give me some free months of coming to the gym, right? So it's come full circle around that piece. The other thing, too, is, like, you know, like, I'll reach out with a question, right? So it's good to know, like, hey, I've got a question, what should I do? Like, and the questions for you about things like, there's a challenge coming up. Should I do this? What's this about? And you're honest with the answers. Like, I've never got an answer which makes me feel like you're trying to just take my money or those kinds of pieces, right? Like, you have been good at, like, answering the questions that come up, no matter kind of what they are, sharing in the success, dealing with kind of the problems that come up, all those kinds of pieces, right? And, like, I know a lot of people, too, like, use, like, the Facebook group, and they're posting questions on there, or sharing a struggle that they're having, or sharing a success story that they have. Like, it's cool seeing all the people posting about getting ready for the Ride for Cancer.
Yeah.
Right? And about people being like, I've never ridden a bike before, and I'm going to post my Strava thing saying I went, like, 30 kilometers. I've never done that before, right? Like, that's really cool. And then all of a sudden you see all these other people wrap it around being like, that's so awesome, or other people being like, look, I'm going for my walk like this other person.
Yeah, you just brought in kind of 3 points that I love to talk about is humility, like being able to ask questions, because some people will suffer in silence and not ask anybody, when if they just ask, they would get the answer that they need, right? So you have to have humility and be able to ask questions when you have questions, or when you're feeling down, or even just posting on the Facebook group when you're feeling down, and having all of those people help. The other keys is accountability and environment, right? So how to keep yourself accountable, and how to have an environment that supports your success. So you're lucky you have a great family that is supportive of your success, and now you have that gym environment that is supportive of your success as well, right? So that's key. Any other things that help keep you accountable?
I think like when we went through, and I can't remember what the challenge was, but that challenge that was in the October time frame, and just really kind of focus on building the habits. Like, it wasn't all about do everything right from the start, and so being able to start with one thing, and start with a thing that you can have some success with, and gradually build from it. And now being in the place that, like, it feels weird for me to not do those things.
Yeah.
And I notice not doing them, which is just the indication that, like, now that's just, like, part of life. Like, getting up in the morning to go for the workout is just part of things. Like, it actually felt weird to, like, cut one out so that I could recover from my weekend bike rides.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, those kinds of pieces, right? So that's been, I think, one of the other kind of big things is, like, starting and then kind of building as things go and figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen on the first day.
No, and, like, what works and what doesn't work, and what can I do and what can't I do, and what changes am I prepared to do or not prepared to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I think kind of the biggest thing is, like, just as I was saying, just kind of being willing to start, and kind of being willing to ask questions, ask for help, what you need. That's kind of what everyone's there for, which is awesome.
Awesome. Well, appreciate all the success you've had, and appreciate you as a client and a friend and all.